Welcome all to the final game of the World Doom League Summer 2021 regular season, the final game of Week 5, Map 32. I am Xenaero, and I am bringing you Dosu and Franks and Wasted Potential. Pretty wild season so far. It took until this final week of the regular season to determine which two teams were dropping from playoff contention. And even up to this point, we don't know until after this game which team will face exactly which team, how the playoff bracket is going to shape up until then. So, now, when we're talking about Dosu and Franks, we're talking about a team that went 2-0 over the team Onslaught, which did not have their captain last week. So, with that, Dosu and Franks secured a playoff berth with their first win of the season and sit at 1 win, 2 losses, and 1 tie. Last week, Dosu played offense. 8 points off of 13 touches with a ratio of 61%. Great conversion rate there. Chain played a hard defense. 13 flag defenses, most in the server. And X-Wiz played mid. 2 points off of 6 touches, 33% conversion ratio. Very strong team going into week 4. And, that might be because Daston didn't play for Onslaught, but they took advantage of that, and there's something to be said for that. Dosu and Franks looks to improve their seeding in this last regular season week. A win here could bring them as high as 4th place, but a loss would drop them pretty low. It could even be dropping them as far as 8th place, I believe. Now, they're matching up against Wasted Potential. Dosu and Franks are up against a Wasted Potential team who are also looking for improved seeding. We're speculating that, hey, Dosu might run again. Prove last week's dominant performance was not a fluke, not by a long shot. Dosu will need to open up a bag of tricks here on a very technical map. If X-Wiz does spring him loose, that may make that's just Prime's life. No, wait. Oh, yeah. Prime's life much harder on defense. Sorry about that. Chain may play defense again here and try to serve up some pain to Ed, also known as Dr. Noob. Expect world-class rocket work from the second-year World Doom League veteran. Chain, no stranger to technical maps on his own. Now, X-Wiz may play middle again on a map that allows much freedom to mid players, and also very crucial, considering that by a typical route, if you're not using rocket jumps, the mid is extremely important to control. It's the only conduit to each base. He'll need to disrupt Alpha as well as Dr. Noob in order to help secure the W. Now, joining me tonight is commissioner and co-caster every so often, and team captain of the Superchargers, the only team to go 5-0 this season, Ralphis. Welcome to the show, Ralph.
Thanks, Xenaero. As always, it's a pleasure to be here to be able to co-cast this final game of the WDL regular season with you. It's been an amazing season so far. This is going to be the 25th regular season game played and the final one before we head into the playoffs. And I think it's going to be a good one here between Dosu and Friends and Wasted Potential.
All right, and when we're talking about Wasted Potential, what are we looking at?
So Wasted Potential, last week they had a 2-1 victory against the Demos Patriots, who were eliminated this week. So Wasted Potential, right now they're sitting at 500, 2-2. They're in the playoffs, and now they're looking to secure a higher seed and maybe even home field advantage for the first week. If they can lock up a 2-round win, they're going to take home field advantage next week in that 4th seed, which is huge for Alpha because prior to the season, Alpha has captained a couple times, and he's had limited success so far this season. This is by far his best season. He has a great team behind him. Last week, Alpha played defense, and he had 2 P-caps off of 3 P-touches. Ed was playing offense for them, and he's MVP caliber both seasons that he's played so far here. And that's just Prime also playing great for them in the mid. Ed was playing offense. We don't know if that's exactly how they're going to set up this week, but we've seen a lot of surprises on this map so far, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we didn't, considering how technical and wide open this map is, even with the lack of cover, we saw people utilizing rocket jumps, rocket defense, and utilizing teamwork and synergy in ways that we didn't expect going into week 5. It proved for some wild matchups and some unexpected upsets that led to playoff eliminations and surprise playoff contention.
For sure. And this is going to be such a critical, crucial moment for both teams. If a team were to lose in 2 rounds here, they're going to have to go against the top rated teams in this league. And that's going to be a big problem for them potentially going into the playoffs. So securing that home field advantage next week is going to be huge. Both teams are going to come out firing on all cylinders, I believe. I think we're going to see big play from Dosu, as you said earlier. I just have a feeling in my gut that he is going to step up tonight and make it happen for Dosu and friends. As far as wasted potential, I expect to see Alpha probably playing defense again here to kind of give his team the best shot against Dosu and friends while he lets that just prime. And Ed kind of handle things on the offensive end, continue to push, create chaos in the mid. Ed is an excellent middle fragger. He's probably the best in the league. If you statistically speaking, his damage per minute, just his frags per minute, he is a top fragger. There's no doubt about it, and he's going to be able to flex that here. We're going to be able to see how his feet work, though. See if he can run a little bit too. His power style of running, he has a high damage output. It makes him a formidable foe, to any sort of defender that he's going to come up against on DAF. And that's just prime. Excellent third for this team. Excellent third for any team. I had the pleasure of playing with him last season when we made it to the playoffs, and I think his style of running and mid is going to be able to help. He's also a very intelligent player, so he's going to be able to pick up those cues when Ed or Alpha need assistance and probably switch to either side and help them where necessary.
All right. Well, thank you for that breakdown with wasted potential. Now, we talked about this map and how technical it is. If you haven't caught our previous games before, we have a map overview of what map 32, Insane Gunslinger Compound, actually looks like. Here it is.
Welcome to Map 32, Insane Gunslinger Compound. This map requires precision and stealth to get into the enemy base. Use the lifts with caution. On either side of the Mega Armor, at the center of the map, there is a pit with a large lift. It can be a hiding spot, or an alternative route. A top route leading out of the flag room allows for a runner to drop down below, or potentially rocket jump back up top on the other side. Matches are played in a best-of-3 format, where the team that scores 5 flag captures, or the team with the most flag captures at the end of 10 minutes, is the winner.
And that is the last time you will hear the term best-of-3 format. This is the final game of Week 5, final game of the regular season. We'll be getting into the broadcast server here. And Ralph, is there anything you would like to add before we get into this?
Sure. So, of course, we're going to have this game coming up here, and I think it's going to be really exciting, the final game of the season. But let's kind of prime the audience a little bit on what to expect in the next couple weeks here with the World Doom League. So, as of next week, we're going to be entering our playoffs for those that haven't tuned in before, and it's going to be elimination at that point. Everyone's entering the bracket depending on how they performed here in the regular season. And the number 1 team is going to play the 8 seed. The number 2 team is going to play the 7 seed, etc. It's going to become a best-of-5 format. Each team is going to have an opportunity to play on their own selected home field. So things start to get a little bit higher stakes, so to speak. But every team has selected that home field because they think that they're good at it. And it's not going to be just random maps anymore. So it'll be an interesting playoff, I think, and we encourage everybody to tune in. Head over to doomleague.org. Probably not tonight, but as of tomorrow, we're going to have all the matchups posted, and we're going to start getting all the times scheduled. So make sure you tune in here to Twitch TV/Xenaero and check those broadcasts out as he's able to broadcast them. I assume you will not be broadcasting your own game this week.
That would be accurate. I try to present the games in a professional format for other teams, but it's hard to control something like Team Vox, and also hard to perform at the level that you should in playoffs when you're also got the distraction of a stream on the side. However, Alpha does stream sometimes, and with any luck, he might be able to catch that game. So If you're in the World Doom League Discord, be on the lookout for that one.
Before this game goes off, why don't we go over and take a quick look at the betting line on the Doom League Discord. Get our finger on the pulse of the community here. So as of right now, Wasted Potential is leading 56% picks to 44%. There's 57,000 WDL bucks roughly bet on them, and 44,000 on DAF. About 101,000 in the pool. So it's a big pool here as we go into the regular season finale.
And even our regular viewers who aren't even part of the World Doom League player pool can log on to our Discord and bet on the games. But enough about that and more about round one as we get into this. Starting off watching Ed as round one begins with a little bit of chain gun work there in the middle. And we'll be seeing how these teams perform against each other. Prime out with about 50 health, barely gets to the midpoint, and it's quickly returned. An early touch that didn't get converted, but that doesn't mean there won't be more action ahead.
Yeah, and what we've seen all week really is that the team that creates the chaos seems to be getting the upper hand. So what team is going to be able to scramble that opposing defense first and misdirect as Chain gets a nice run across mid here?
And we saw that Ed was able to get down in the pit, try to delay time a little bit, but Chain was across. He picked up the blue armor halfway across the map on his way back, which would help him on a run. Blue armor is critical for a runner who may rocket jump. It reduces your damage output or damage incoming by 50%. But right now, DAF is on the board, 1-0. That's first blood.
Yeah, and they're moving quickly, fast strikes. I mean, we've seen that in a lot of games this week. First to score, it usually bodes well for the team that scores first. So, but DAF needs to be careful because it's really easy to give up consecutive scores here in just the span of 20 to 30 seconds. So their defense needs to stay sharp.
Prime with blue armor goes for a rocket jump, lands on the very edge of the upper platform, and that's the kind of rocket jump technique that we were seeing develop as teams practice throughout the week. Excellent work from That's Just Prime, scoring the first flag for Wasted Potential, tying it up 1-1.
Absolutely, and what you're seeing there is veteran experience from Prime, dating back all the way to the IDL. He was reading the field, he knew exactly where he needed to go, he dropped down, had a clean rocket jump, and he was able to put that flag on the stand.
And both flags clearing the pedestal. Prime, with very little health to his name, needs that mid coverage. Mid coverage is not there. Chain rolling right on through. Can he get the lift jump? There is a trick jump. As the lift lowers, you can platform your way up without waiting for the lift. Chain was not able to hit it, but there was enough coverage for Chain to actually make it up to that pedestal and score the flag.
Yeah, and so far, Chain has scored 2 flags in a span of about roughly 2 minutes. I mean, he's really on fire so far. Their team, the key to success here for DAF is going to make sure that they don't get scrambled off of defense, misdirected into those pits, and they keep that flag at least on the top or in their base as they just did. They're going to want to go up there and return that because a rocket jumper can get up there and grab that flag they left standing at the top.
Very exciting round one so far. 3 flags total scored in just under 3 minutes. It's a little different than I would say some other games have where teams will try to feel each other out in the first round. This time, both teams coming out swinging. They want those captures. They want to end the round as quickly as they can before the enemy team can really coalesce and have a counter.
Right now for this map, we're seeing a bit of a lull. No flag touches in the last few moments. Kind of rare here, but not a lot of lift jumping occurring. And don't hold your breath because X-Wiz grabbed the flag here.
And he was shot down over by just after he made that jump from upper to lower platforms, but it was returned. There wasn't enough cover for whoever picked up the flag to take it further. But the fact that a carrier can get it to that point means that they can do it again. So the defending teams are going to have to be able to intercept that flag before it gets to that halfway point, because the further the carrier gets on a map like this, it's it gets much harder to return the flag.
A big credit to Chain Dude there. Chain, who saw X-Wiz coming over the top. They probably communicated it over their voice comms, and he was ready for the grab. He did kill one of the opposing players, grab the flag, but sometimes it's just the way it goes. There's two guys there, and couldn't get away.
One thing to note about this map is that you can keep track of a lot of different angles as a defender from the flag room, and at least see players are coming, or if you have a shotgun or chain gun, to try to damage them as they come in, limit their rocket jump capability, while also doing damage outright. A very useful tool for a defender. And we'll see if they're able to hamper Chain getting up to that platform and grabbing it from the pedestal. The less health someone like Chain has, the better your defense will handle it in the long term.
Yeah, Dosu is doing an excellent job on defense right now for DAF. He's really building a wall in front of WST. And really, for Dosu, this season, it's his rookie season as captain. The first few weeks didn't go so well, but they've really turned it on here at the end of the season, and it's going towards the playoffs. And he just needs some confidence. And if he plays with confidence, we're going to continue to see that high-level defense, high-level play.
We saw Dosu get kind of burned there as Ed took the other lift. Now Rocket jumps up with the flag, returns it as the carry is still on the pedestal, and then scores it. 2-2, tying both teams up as we reach past the halfway point. The frag discrepancy between both teams is a meager 3, meaning that both teams really don't have, any big leeway over power-wise over each other. It's all technical. Chain out with 20 health up top. Not enough health to really make a rocket jump happen, but tries to time something down below, and no go there. That flag is returned.
And he's able to grab that blue armor. At least he takes that away from the opposing team. He kind of recognized that run was dead, so he made the most of it. He took that armor away.
Blue armor does respawn after every 30 seconds after it's touched. And yeah, taking it off the board does provide, well, it robs the other team of being able to use it for their own rocket jumps and their own runs, or even holding down mid. Mid here is very narrow and can be tightly controlled, but is that the best place on such a fluid map? Shane doing a great offensive rocket jump, but not enough health to make it the rest of the way to the enemy pedestal.
Yeah, right now, what you're seeing is a wasted potential. They really need to kind of penetrate a little bit more with their offense. When they do get touches, they're quality touches, but they're just not getting enough. You're seeing a lot more touches out of DAF, and in order to win on this map, you just need to get that flag in your hands.
We do call this map pretty defensive. It definitely is a great stronghold of a flag room for a single defender to hold, but the difficulty in defending here comes when what do you do when the flag carrier gets past you one time? Kind of blows the map wide open, and in addition, we do see runners who are in distress drop down below into the pit to take an enemy off the board. That flag dropping down below can take a defender another 20 or 30 seconds to get back to the flag room, so dropping down in the pit has been a valid strategy for a lot of teams so far this week. Next was a cross with 1 health. Good enough for team captain Dosu to pick it up and take it a little bit further, but Chain on the other side of the map grabs the flag, misses the drop down, but takes the lift about halfway up, runs into 2 defenders. If he can cover himself, he makes the lift jump even, burns the last guy, and takes it to 3-2 in favor of DAF with under 2 minutes left. Now pressure is building on wasted potential to have a reply here at late in the first round. It's no longer tied. What is wasted potential's answer to going down by 1 flag?
Absolutely. Their inclination is going to be that they want to pull that goalie. They're going to want to pull Alpha off of D and run 3 offense. Probably not the best idea. You just need to keep with it, keep Ed and TJP running and trying to get those touches. 75 seconds is a lot of time on this map, so they just need to continue to pound away.
It's going to be, you're going to require to have full heads if you're down at this point in the game. Shane is out with full health, tries to rocket jump laterally like across to the other upper side, but flag is quickly returned. And it's going to be tough for Wasted Potential to come back now.
He had a pretty good angle right there. I think he would have made that jump, but WST was very on top of what was occurring, and they stopped him from making it across.
Well, while we
TJP,
Prime is out with the flag. He's taking the lift. I'm not sure the enemy team knows he's in the pit. The coverage seems to be there. If he can make that lift jump, he does, and he ties it up in the last 20 seconds of the first round. Now anything can happen, but each team will have maybe one run left. It will take you about 10 seconds end to end if you're very quick. But there will be no more scores at this point. Round 1 is now over, ending in a tie between Dosu and Franks and Wasted Potential.
You got to give credit to That's Just Prime. Incredible play there at the end. Clutch. The clutch factor is very high. He was able to take that flag in dire situation and tie this game up, push it to a 3-rounder, keep themselves in the game. DAF needs to stay focused. Right now, momentum is a real thing, and Dosu's team is going to be feeling like the momentum has shifted away from them. They need to stay focused. They need to just continue to play their game. They played a good game, and just let things continue as they were. Chain was running great, so they shouldn't change very much here.
And a note for all the viewers at home, you get to see yet another round of Doom action. A tie in the first round does guarantee that we will be seeing a 3-round series. No matter what the result of round 2 is, it will be pushed to a 3rd round. So you got 20 more minutes of fun ahead of you. Starting off round 2, watching Ed, Dr. Noob, a star player in this league so far. Ed may be crucial to his team's success if they end up changing anything to get a lead over Dosu and Franks in this pivotal round. Ending on a tie was a good result for them after Dosu and Franks was ahead. But can they land the first blow going into round 2?
And I believe at this point, because of the fact that it has gone 3 rounds, no matter what, neither team is going to be able to reach that 4th seed. So at this point, because of that tied round, neither team will have home field advantage going into the first round of playoffs. It'll be interesting to see how the seeding pans out after these next 2 rounds.
And both carries dropping very quickly after grabbing the flag, showing that both teams got their heads about them in terms of defense, at least initially, as 1 minute has elapsed on the clock. Ed taking a very shallow rocket jump to preserve his health. A little bit of platforming there. And is looking for a way out towards mid, but has to drop into the pit to avoid additional gunfire. Knows that a player's above him. Very hurt, but gets Dosu, who is chasing him, then intercepted by Chain. Excellent return at the end there.
And this is a critical moment we're looking at right here. Now, all the players are scrambled. Which teams are going to be able to reset first? It looks like DAF has been able to reset. Dosu is back on defense. Those are moments where you are very vulnerable, where both of your players have gone across the map and they lose the flag. And now your flag is totally open because nobody's there defending it. You don't know where the runner's going. And that's how we've seen teams get punished all week long.
There is value in bringing the enemy defense out of their base, especially if you're running a tandem offense. The other runner might have a much easier job. Prime out with full armor and some health, but it can be picked up. Xwiz, meanwhile, is outside up top. If Ed can get out of there... Well, no, that was a... Dosu was able to kill himself with that rocket. And all Ed has to do here is...
moment here for
the entire
DAF.
enemy team on top of Ed.
Huge return by Xwiz, but this is exactly what we were talking about. Now TJP has an unopposed touch to get that flag, but he's chasing to the pit. Is he going to be able to make that jump? Probably not. He doesn't have 50, or he only has 50 health, so.
Yeah, it's a tough rocket jump to make with that low health. He was able to get rid of the 2 defenders chasing him in the pit. Xwiz taking a route through mid. Oh my god, and intercepted right at the foot of the large lift. Tall lift, rather. Kind of a different
Both
picture
teams-
in round 2 compared to the first round, where we saw a lot of scores early on. No scores so far.
Absolutely. Last round, there were already 3 scores by the time that the 8-minute mark was ticking. 8 minutes left, and now it's 0-0. And I think part of the reason is that the teams have become a little bit more acclimated with each other.
As we're speaking, oh, Ed with a great rocket on Dosu, but can't get much further as enemy players up top in his own base fire rockets down on top of him. Even though he had that mega armor, catching a rocket to the teeth, that can drop you.
As always, great awareness by Chain, who was there ready to stop him from coming up. And if he would have made it even further, he would have been in the flag room, probably ready to grab and stall and extend that play even longer.
While Dosu was taking out Ed down below, who had a rocket launcher, Prime was able to grab the flag behind Dosu's back and run out with it, but Dosu eventually hounded him down and returned it himself.
And it seems like this round Ed is sticking around mid a little bit more. Right now he's playing very intelligently where he spawned back in the base, his own base. His defender seems to be gone, so he is playing defense. And that's a smart thing to do because if you just run out before your defender gets a chance to get back, there's a possibility that the other team will grab your flag. Nobody there to stop him.
Prime with an offensive rocket jump and a trade with Dosu, but Dosu being on his side of the map will be able to reset a little bit easier than Prime, who has to grab a gun and run all the way back over.
This is starting to
Oh, go ahead.
a little bit more like the Domain versus Demos Patriots game earlier this week, where it's a low-scoring affair and not a lot of offense. It's an interesting shift from the first round.
Would you speculate that both teams are kind of taking it easy for a second? Because, you know, they have round 3 coming up.
Well, it's really not in their interest to do so. You know, they're going to want to try and get higher up in that seeding if possible. I imagine
clear
there's
from
fear
Chain.
involved.
Oh my god. Oh,
When Dr. Noob was able to stop him with the rockets, but not stop him forever. Good attempt. Nice try.
no, what we saw there, Chain was able to clear out both a carrier and another player covering him in the flag room, allowing X-Wiz to grab it and grab the enemy flag, bring it to their base, who is then dogged down by 2 more players, and was eventually able to chain it to their pedestal. A game of inches for, by all definitions, for Dosu and Franks. Now up 1-0. Chain cornered there, but if there are blue players in that pit still, they are taken out of play for a brief time and can be exploited by DAF.
I was running into a little bit of trouble there for a moment, but it seems like he's had the chance to get reset. He was taken totally out of his element, taken off of the defensive stand, forced him to jump into the pit, and was not looking good. They were very exposed, but now he's back up, and hopefully he can turn it around.
Now we're well past the halfway mark so far in this round, but we see Dosu trying to bring down Naxxus Prime, and another subsequent spawn will help their team drop the flag up top. Now, frag-wise, we're still looking at a pretty equivalent game, 68-64. Very, very thin margin between the 2 teams power-wise, and it's somewhat reflected in most games by equivalent flag capture rate as well. But this is definitely a map that is non-traditional, I would expect. Prime chased by Chain, who does end up returning the flag. Prime having no support out at mid.
To be fair, Alpha did actually step up to support him. He just wasn't able to take on those 3 guys from the opposite team.
Yeah, it's pretty tough when the entire enemy base clears and chases you across the map. There's no hard cover in map 32 to really help you. unless you drop down into the pit. Now, Chain does have 25 health. He's going to look for that med kit in the corner in the pit side and then try to rocket jump up top. I believe he can do it, but he does not have
Might
the
be able
right
to do
angle.
it. He has the blue armor, so he might be able to pull it off.
Yeah, that first rocket jump was
Angle.
not the angle it needed to be.
Alpha Superman in here almost had a good run, but as we've been talking about all week, you know, exposed that flag, and now their flag is out.
We're watching X-Wiz with, oh, not enough health at all. 0 is not enough to get the flag to your base, but they are getting the flag out. Both teams are heavy offense.
We're running into a situation here. WST is not addressing this correctly, where Alpha is the defender. His team knows that he went into the pit, so Alpha, as the captain, needs to tell one of his players, hey, when you respawn, or whoever's closest to the flag, you need to defend right now. And it left their flag exposed for nearly a minute, and with some couple close calls. So they need to be careful about that going into the third round.
Now we might be ending this round with an advantage for Dosu and Franks, but we still have 45 seconds. That's enough for easily 2-3 runs, depending on how quick Wasted Potential gets to that flag pedestal. Now, Eddie's going to try a, well, you can call it a naked rocket jump, but it just ended up propelling him directly in the sights of every enemy player. Prime with 24 health and blue armor, but drops it at the foot of the pit, maybe intending to pick it back up with a full stack.
And you can kind of see DAF betting down here to collect this win, which puts them into territory that they can't lose this week. Now it's win or tie, and I'm always behind a team win or tie.
Yeah, Dosu and Franks coming into this game, they've had a rough season, but they really have pulled it together by this week. Wasted Potential, a pretty strong team with strong players, now looking to having to win round 3 to avoid a loss in the final week of the regular season.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see if any sort of strategy change occurs here. WST, they just need to get out there and push some offense. There's just not a lot of offense happening. You know that Ed is capable of it. Ed needs to step up here and make it happen. And they need to communicate better as well. They can't leave Alpha down in the pit stranded. They need to work together. That's going to hurt them if they don't fix it. They have an opportunity here.
And any communication problems can manifest themselves in the playoffs, so take this opportunity while you can before the playoffs get fully underway. We're getting into round 3 of Wasted Potential and Dosu and Friends. Final game of the regular season. X-Way's across to 2 health. He's got a little bit of coverage, but he's got one more player behind him. And Ed does return that flag. Last second return. Excellent work there, because if it wasn't Ed, they were free and clear.
Yeah, and avoiding that early strike. DAF is, they're looking pretty good here. Kind of like the Electric Bills also this season. Both teams started out winless for the first 3 weeks. They actually, I believe, tied against each other in the first week. And if DAF can finish this off with a win, both teams finish the season strong with 2 wins at the end, heading into the playoffs with momentum. You got to give them credit for turning it around.
Oh, for sure. Even the teams that started poorly this season, until week 5, no one had any idea which team was going to make playoffs. So, very competitive season. But as always, there's always room for improvement. And Wasted Potential and Dosu and Franks can take this opportunity in the final round to work out any kinks before the playoffs.
Yeah, this is just a big moment for WST. Their whole season's kind of been a roller coaster of ups and downs as they're trying to figure it out. And Alpha is turning into a pretty good captain, and Ed is an excellent player. And TJP has the tools, so they just need to put it together here. They need to communicate. It looks like, without actually hearing their communications, just judging from what we're watching here tonight, they got to work on their communication.
Some teams do take a little bit longer than others to coalesce around each other. Synergy is not an easy thing in 3v3 capture flag. Some teams never achieve it. But this season, we've seen every team improve as this season went on. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and we're seeing some communication right now between Ed and TJP, who had a great tandem run there. They weren't able to turn it into a capture, but it was a very good play by both players, using each other as bait, misdirecting the defenders, and getting a pretty solid run across the map.
And it's a great map to not only hone your individual skill, but also communications and synergy with the rest of your team. It's a pretty wide open map. Requires a lot of precision from every member of your team. But as we're talking about that, both flags cleared. Oh my god, the carrier dropped right in front of Ed, and who then returned it, rode the lift back up, and scored 1-0. That's first blood for a waste of potential.
Great play by Ed. Definitely some luck involved there, no doubt. You know, Chain happened to drop down basically right into his lap and changed the course of that play.
And Ed trying to go for a pretty sneaky capture there, but meanwhile, while Ed was doing that, Prime tried to get out up top, but you saw his momentum get slowed down. That is one thing with the Doom engine now. You can get some momentum going mid-air, but that's all you get. You can't change direction. You can't add or remove momentum while you're in the air. So you're if you get shot there, you can't change what direction you get shot in. Makes rocket jumps kind of tricky.
Excellent grab by Chain there. Read the situation. Let's see how he runs here. He's trying to be a little tricky, but he keeps trying to make that jump. Sometimes it's better to just go straight across. You know, not everything needs to be a trick. His team was clearing on the other side of the bridge for him.
Ed making his own run here, trying to clear the spawns behind him. A little bit of self-cover, never hurt anybody. But Dosu getting the good chain gun registration in and returning the flag for Dosu and friends. Prime, meanwhile, takes the opportunity to grab it again. Grabs blue armor on the way out. Chain out and in the pit. Grabs the green. And Prime is in the base. He doesn't have a whole lot of health to speak of. Chain, meanwhile, has to try to avoid two players. Takes it down both, securing himself a little bit of a breather while the red flag is dropped in return.
Oh, he's going to need some help, though. But that's okay. You know, he loses the flag. Now Dosu gets a free touch on the other side if the AF can coordinate and stop bleeding another flag.
Yeah, both teams clearing bases. I mean, no one's playing a default position right now with both flags out. It's really a question of who can reset. Alpha catches X-Wiz rocket in the ear, while Chain goes for another run himself. Sees the enemy carrier, and he opts to go back into the base to take an upper route, try to avoid the risk that he can. There's one player in the base who spawned him from, and Ed was able to return the flag. A great shot from Chain onto Ed, but not enough to bring Ed down.
Big awareness by Ed there. You know, he could have had the opportunity to grab up top, but he knew that Chain would be coming across the map, and he waited, took the high ground, and took advantage of the situation.
Chain again out, switches to the super shotgun, knowing that he could take a close range attack like that. And, well, unfortunately, it didn't end in a capture. Chain trying to do that lateral rocket jump across the top, but, you know, sometimes it's a very tricky jump to make. You have to be very exact with the distance that you're traveling when you rocket jump, and it's a tough jump to make.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes it's just better to just run straight up. Save the tricks for, you know, the capturing moments, not necessarily when you're starting the run.
Meanwhile, Prime has the plasma gun. Plasma gun is in the pit, but you like almost never see it get brought out because of how far out of the way it is. Prime does pick up the blue armor, making the next run pretty viable. Chain
just had an excellent grab there. some one-on-one old school action in the flag room.
Right now, 50
And
health
he's
is not a whole lot to work with, but does
good cover right now, though.
seem to burn the player out at mid, who I think walked by him. Oh, and the flag is down. It was down up top on the edge, but players trying to wait for that flip to raise back up so that they can grab it and return it. And that was
Yeah, that's a Doom engine sort of thing where it looks like it's down at the bottom, but actually was up at the top.
but you know, round 3 where the score's tied 1-1. So if this result stays, then Dosu and Franks will be going home with a win.
Still plenty of time here. And we
Yeah,
saw TG
2 minutes
lock
left.
it up with 45 seconds on the clock in the first round. So Chain kind of reverting to a more defensive position now to try and run this clock out. The prevent defense is not known to be very effective in the WDL. Dropping to heavy defense usually gets punished, so they need to be careful.
As the years have progressed, so have offensive skill. Runners have gotten a lot better at punishing that sort of thing. X-Way's across with 75 health. I mean, he's got a teammate behind him to cover. Needs that lift to get up to score that flag. 2-1 now. The favor's back in Dosu and Frank's court.
Yeah, and big credit to X was there. A great run. Probably putting this one away effectively. WST is down 2 scores now. Now, it's not impossible they could score 2 in a minute, but they're going to need to get to work. And it looks like DAF is really just kind of hanging around defense. This one's likely in the bag at this point.
1 minute left. We've seen crazier upsets and comebacks before, but it is a tough map to pull that off of. Not saying it's impossible, as X-Ways is across, but does get returned. So good defense there, but they need captures. They need offense. They need that synergy, and they need that win.
And Jane is really just hanging back and helping Dosu. It looks like Dosu and friends are going to probably take this one, but as I say that, you know, Prime gets a good run, so you need to watch for it, but there's just not enough offense coming out of WST now with only 30 seconds on the clock. Looks like DAF's going to take this game, and the playoffs are going to start to become very clear in a few minutes.
And well, that will probably do it for the end of round 3, the end of this series. Now, this will be it for the regular season, and when we get into the playoffs, we'll be seeing not 1, but 2 maps. We'll be seeing a map that the defending team, the higher seed, we'll be seeing that map in rounds 1 and 2, and then we'll be seeing the map of the lower seed in maps 3 and 4. It'll be a best of 5. And the map will alternate control from round 5 onward until we have a winner. So it'll be a much different format, and I'm pretty excited to see that. What about you?
I'm very excited, and I'm also processing this game, so I think it's going to be very interesting. Let me wrap this up, and we'll talk a little bit about the playoffs.
All right, and that, I mean, you know, hey, we give Wasted Potential a lot of credit there for maintaining a very competitive game. They weren't able to get the offense churning out as much as Dosu and Friends was able to hold down as much as they were able to. I mean, map 32, it's a delicate balancing act of defense and offense. I mean, rarely do we see a map that requires players to be so aware of everything around them and so much space between each teammate, requiring a lot of communication, a lot of synergy, and a lot of individual skill as well. Dosu and Friends doing very well in this 3-round series to show up and bring the W home. And let's see. Meanwhile, Ralph is processing the stats, and we'll be seeing the picture show up more. The playoff picture will show up more on the website as games get scheduled and such. We'll be making a post on the front page of doomleague.org about the matchups and any pending times as the captains get their availabilities in. And as always, we will show both maps before the game as the playoffs initiate and progress. So that should be pretty exciting, and we'll go over the stacks here in a second. And there we have it. I'll post that link in the chat for you all to also look over. Now, Ralph, what do you think the big takeaway is of the stacks here?
Well, Xenaero, you know, you could tell just looking by the stats that it was a very even game. Ed was shouldering a lot of the load on his team. It looks like, and there's no doubt that these games were close. The first round was a tie. The second round was a 1-0 win, and there was only a one flag discrepancy in the third round as well. So both teams played very tight, very close. Dosu's team was just able to generate a little bit more offense, and that makes a huge difference. So we're going to see once we get into the home fields coming up next week how these teams perform, if they're able to sustain that offense, and what adjustments WST is going to be able to make going into the playoffs.
All right, and that'll do it. Thank you for coming out today, Ralph. It's been a pleasure, as always, casting the regular season, and we'll be getting into the playoffs shortly. So thank you for coming out.
Thank you. We can even talk a little bit about seeding if you'd like.
Oh, yeah. If you have the seating in front of you, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so let me just take a look here.
And this will give you guys at home also something to look forward to in terms of seating. We'll be posting those on the website as well. But we'll talk a little bit about the potential matchups here for a second if you guys want to hang around and watch this one. If not, then hey, have a great rest of your Monday night. But we'll be posting more about this on the front page of doomleague.org. And we also have a YouTube channel. So if you missed any games this week, be sure to check that out. We upload the VODs when we get them. And we also have the Discord. So if you want to keep a sharp lookout on any developing events, or if you want to participate in our in-house betting using our little Discord bot, then be sure to click that link, and also keep an eye on doomleague.org/matches for match times that are translated to your local time. None of that having to pop in the EST time to, break out the abacus and shift the hours over.
Yeah, no, the website now will show the local time, so you just hop on there, you check the matches page, it'll tell you exactly when you want to tune in to Xenaero's Twitch here. As far as the seeding goes, so right now, as it stands, the Superchargers enter the playoffs number 1 with 19 points. Onslaught enters number 2 with 13 points. Domain enters number 3 with 12 points. Rip and Tear, fourth place with 11, and those are the 4 teams that are going to have home field advantage next week in the first round. Then we have the Electric Bills sitting at number 5 with 10 points. Dosu and Friends at 6 with 9, and then there's a two-way tie with 8 points between the Techno Vikings and Wasted Potential. However, Wasted Potential does win the tiebreakers, so they are going to be slotted in at 7, and Techno Vikings are going to be 8. So the 4 games to look forward to this coming week in the World Doom League is the Techno Vikings at the Superchargers, Wasted Potential at Onslaught, Dosu and Friends at Domain, and the Electric Bills at Rip and Tear.
All right. Well, those are going to be our 4 matchups, and I trust that that we'll get some pretty decent coverage before the games. I mean, we're going to have a little bit of an extended pregame before each playoff game as we talk about the team's history, how they got there, and what to look forward to, and also go over the playoff format. So we're looking forward to bringing that to you this week sometime. It might be the weekend, might be Friday. Anything you want to touch base on before we play everybody out, Ralph?
No, sir. I want to thank you for taking all this time this season to put these amazing broadcasts together and really show off what we're doing in the league. And I think that you're bringing a lot to what we do. And I hope that everybody that isn't a player or is a player, everybody, I hope that you're all very excited to watch these games. I know that Xenaero does a great deal of work preparing for them, as well as Kay Blair, his regular co-host, and we really enjoy making sure that these games are broadcasted to you and accessible to everybody. And we're just trying to have a lot of fun here, and so far we are. So thank you, Xenaero. Thank you, Kay Blair. We really appreciate it.
And thank you, Ralph, for organizing and running the league. It's not an easy task herding cats every week. And thank you to Kay Blair as well for not only all the behind the scenes work he does, but also bringing together the doomleague.org website. And thank you to all the players, and especially to all the viewers who spend their time here watching these broadcasts. We wouldn't keep doing it if you guys didn't keep coming back. But be sure to come back next weekend, the end of this week, sometime. And be sure to keep an eye out for doomleague.org/matches. And we'll be going live when those games get underway. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your Monday. This is Xenaero and Ralphis signing off.